Dear students, welcome to the video lecture. Today I am going to discuss a topic that is capital budgeting, which is the part of the module 3 of your course, that is project management. So what is capital budgeting? Basically, it is a technique of making decisions for the investment in long-term assets. It refers to the process of planning of capital projects, raising funds, and efficiently allocating resources to those capital projects which are expected to generate returns for more than a year. What are the decisions taken in the capital budgeting? The following decisions are taken in the capital budgeting. First, how much money to be raised or what is the fund requirement? Second, what could be the sources of finance? And third, allocation of fund between different projects over a time period. The next topic is objective of capital budgeting. The first objective is to ensure the selection of possible profitable capital projects. Second, to ensure the effective control of capital expenditure in order to achieve by forecasting the long-term financial requirement. Third, to make estimation of capital expenditure during the budget period and to see that the benefits and costs may be measured in terms of cash flow. Fourth, determining the required quantum takes place as per authorization and sanction. Fifth, to facilitate coordination of interdepartmental project funds among the competing capital projects. And the last one is to ensure the maximization of profit by allocating the available investable resources. What is capital budgeting process and what are the steps are involved in the capital budgeting process? The following procedure may be considered in the process of capital budgeting decision. The first is identification of profitable investment proposal. Second, screening and selection of right proposal. Third, evaluation of measures of investment worth on the basis of profitability and uncertainty or risk. Fourth, establish priorities, means that is the uneconomical and unprofitable proposals may be rejected. Fifth, final approval and preparation of the capital expenditure budget. Sixth, implementing the investment proposal, that is the project execution. And last is the review the performance of the projects. Now we will discuss the importance of capital budgeting. The first importance is capital budgeting decision involve the long-term implication for the firm and influence its risk complexion. Capital budgeting involves the commitment of large amount of funds. Third, capital budgeting ensures the selection of right source of finance at the right time. Fourth, capital decisions are required to assessment of future events which are uncertain. Fifth, wrong sales forecast may lead to over or under investment of resources. Sixth, in most of the cases, capital budgeting decisions are irreversible. This is because it is very difficult to find a market for the capital goods. The only alternative available is to scrap the asset and incur heavy loss. Seventh importance, many firms fail because they have too much or too little capital equipment. And the last importance of capital budgeting decision is that the investment decision taken by individual concern is of national importance because it determines the employment, economic activities and economic growth. Now we will discuss the types of capital expenditure. The first one is the capital expenditure increases revenue and the second is capital expenditure reduces cost. Now we will discuss individually. The first type of capital expenditure is capital expenditure increases revenue. It is the expenditure which brings more revenue to the firm either by expanding the existing production facilities or development of a new production line. And the second type is capital expenditure reduces cost. Such a capital expenditure reduces the cost of the present product and thereby increases the profitability of the existing operation. It can be done by the replacement of old machine by a new one. Now the types of capital budgeting proposals. A firm may have several investment proposals for its consideration. It may adopt after considering the merits and demerits of each one of them. For this purpose, the capital expenditure proposals may be classified into independent proposals, dependent proposals, and the last one is the mutually exclusive proposal. What is independent proposals? These proposals are said to be economically independent, which are accepted or rejected on the basis of minimum return on investment required. Independent proposals do not depend upon each other. The second is the dependent proposals or contingent proposal. In this case, when the acceptance of one proposal is contingent upon the acceptance of other proposal, it is called as dependent or contingent proposal. For example, construction of new building on account of installation of new plant and machinery. And third is the mutually exclusive proposal. So mutually exclusive proposals refer to the acceptance of one proposal results in the automatic rejection of other proposal. Then the two investments are mutually exclusive. In other words, one can be rejected and another can be accepted. It is easier for a firm to take capital budgeting decision on such project. Now we will understand the methods of evaluating the investment return. The first is the traditional method. So in the traditional method, there are two methods. One is the accounting profit criteria. So it is based on the accounting information rather than the cash flow. Under this, there is only one method called average rate of return method. So what is average rate of return method? This method does not consider time factor. Average return of investment is defined as the ratio of net average annual income from the project to the average investment. And average annual income can be calculated by dividing the total annual income of all the years by the number of years of inflow. And net average annual income is calculated by subtracting the average depreciation and tax from the average annual income. So here is the formula of average rate of return method. That is average annual income after tax divided by average investment into 100. So in case, if you see the formula of average investment, so 1 by 2 into initial cost plus installation expense minus salvage value plus additional working capital. For calculating the average depreciation, formula is cost of the machine minus scrap value divided by estimated useful life of the machine. If the actual ARR, that is average rate of return, is higher than the predetermined rate of return, then the project would be accepted. And if actual ARR is lower than the predetermined rate of return, then project would be rejected. Now we will discuss the importance of average rate of return method. The first is, it is very simple to calculate and understand. Second, it considers all the years involved in the life of a project rather than only payback years. Third, it applies accounting profit as a criterion of measurement and not cash flow. There are also some disadvantages of ARR method. The principal shortcoming of ARR approach is that it uses accounting income instead of cash flows received from a project. Cash profit are superior to accounting income because cash profit can be reinvested during the life of the project itself. The second demerit is the time value of money is ignored in this method. Earning of all the years during the lifetime of the project is given equal weightage under this method. Third demerit is yearly profit determination may be a difficult task. Fourth demerit is it is very difficult to fix a predetermined rate of return with which the actual ARR is compared. And the last disadvantage is it ignores the salvage value of the proposal. In real sense, the salvage value is also a return from the proposal and should be considered. Next is the non-discounting method. So under this method, there is only one method called payback method. So payback period, this method is also called a payout method, calculates the total time period required to return the original investment. So there are basically two methods called for calculating the payback period. The first method is adopted when the project generates equal cash inflow each year. The formula is payback period is equal to total investment divided by net cash inflow per year. And how to calculate the net cash flow is equal to gross profit minus tax minus depreciation. And the second method is adopted in case of projects yielding cash inflow in varying amount, in different amount. The payback period can be obtained through the cumulative total of annual returns. In this case, the formula would be payback period is equal to number of years immediately preceding the year of final recovery plus balance amount still to be recovered divided by cash inflow during the year of final recovery. Now, if you see the accept or reject criteria, if the actual payback period is less than the predetermined payback, then project would be accepted. On the other hand, if the actual payback period is more than the predetermined payback period, then the project would be rejected. What are the advantages of payback period? First, it is an important guide to investment policy. Second, it is simple to understand and easy to calculate. Third, it facilitates to determine the liquidity and solvency of a company. Fourth, it helps to measure the profitable internal investment opportunities. Fifth, it enables the firm to select an investment which yields a quick return on the cash funds. And the last one is it ensures the reduction of cost of capital expenditure. There are also some demerits of payback period. The first demerit is it does not measure the profitability of a project. Second, this method does not consider the income beyond the payback period. Third, it does not value the projects of different economic lives. Fourth, it does not give proper weight to the timing of cash flow. And the last demerit is it does not consider the cost of capital and interest factor, which are very important factors in taking sound investment decision. Now we will discuss the modern methods. So in the modern method, the first one is the discounting method. And under discounting method, there are three types of methods. The first one is a net present value method. So under this method, the present value of cash outflow and cash inflow is calculated, and present value of cash outflow is subtracted from the present value of cash inflow. The difference is called as the NPV. The NPV is equal to present value of cash inflow minus present value of cash outflow. So net present value is equal to total present value minus cost of investment. In case of different, if you see the accept or reject criteria, if NPV is greater than 0, project is acceptable. If NPV is equal to 0, project can be accepted or rejected. If NPV is less than 0, project should be rejected. Now we will discuss some advantages of net present value method. First, it recognizes the time value of money and is thus a scientific in its approach. The second advantage is all the cash flows spread over the entire life of the project are used for calculation rather than the payback period. Third, it is consistent with the objectives of maximizing the welfare of the owners as it depicts the positive or otherwise the present value of the proposal. There are also some disadvantages of NPV method. First disadvantage is this method is comparatively difficult to understand or use. Second, when the projects in consideration involve different amounts of investment, the NPV method may not give satisfactory results. In case of two projects with unequal initial investment, this method may not give satisfactory result. Third demerit is difficulty in fixing the required rate of return. Required rate of return or discount rate is the most important in calculating the NPV because the different discount rate will give the different present value. And the last is in case of two projects with different lives, this method may not give the satisfactory result. The next method is profitability index. It is also called as benefit cost ratio. And the formula of profitability index is equal to present value of cash inflow divided by present value of cash outflow. If profitability index is greater than the 1, the project will be accepted. If profitability index is less than the 1, the project will be rejected. And if profitability index is equal to 1, then the project may be accepted only on the basis of non-financial consideration. Advantage of profitability index: it duly recognizes the time value of money. Second, for calculation, when compared with the internal rate of return method, it requires less time. Third, it helps in ranking the project for investment decision. Fourth, as this method is capable of calculating the incremental benefit cost ratio, it can be used to choose between the mutually exclusive projects. And the last method under discounting method is the internal rate of return method. This method is also called as discounted rate of return. This is the rate of return which equates the total outlay on project or cost of investment with the total net present value of annual cash inflow. So IRR is the discount rate at which present value of cash inflow is equal to the present value of cash outflow. IRR method says that so long as internal rate of return is greater than the market rate of interest, it is always profitable to borrow and invest. It is defined as a discount rate that produces zero NPV. What are the advantages of IRR? It takes into account the time value of money. Second, it considers the cash flow over the entire life of the project. Third, it makes more meaningful and acceptable to the users because it satisfies them in terms of rate of return on capital. There are also some disadvantages of internal rate of return. First is the internal rate of return may not be uniquely defined. It produces multiple rates, which may be confusing for taking decisions. Second, the IRR is difficult to understand and involves complicated computational problem. Third, the internal rate of return figure cannot distinguish between lending and borrowing. Hence, high internal rate of return need not necessarily be a desirable feature. The topic that is a risk analysis and capital investment decision. So what is risk? Risk is the potential of losing something of value weighted against the potential to gain something of value. Risk refers to the deviation of the financial performance of a project from the forecasted performance. One needs to forecast the cash flows and other financial aspects while selecting a project. However, the actual financial performance of a project may not in accordance to the forecasted performance. These risks can be decline in demand, uneven cash flow, and high inflation. For example, an organization is planning to install a machine that would increase the production level of the organization. However, the demand of the product may vary with the economic environment. For example, the demand may be very high in economic boom and low if there is recession. Therefore, the organization may earn high income or incur huge loss depending upon the business environment. However, different kind of risk can be assessed up to a certain limit. What is financial risk? The probability that an actual return on an investment will be lower than the expected return, that is called as the financial risk. What is risk analysis? Almost all sorts of large business require a minimum sort of risk analysis. For example, commercial banks need to properly hedge foreign exchange exposure of overseas loans, while large department stores must factor in the possibility of reduced revenues due to a global recession. Risk analysis allows the professionals to identify and mitigate risk, but not avoid them completely. The proper risk analysis often includes the mathematical and statistical software programs. Methods to perform a risk analysis in the computer field is called facilitated risk analysis process. Nature of risk. Risk exists because of the inability of the decision maker to make perfect forecasts. Forecasts cannot be made on the perfection because the future events they depend are uncertain. For example, a company wants to produce and market a new product to their prospective customers. The demand is affected by the general economic condition. Demand may be very high if the country experiences higher economic growth. On the other hand, economic events like weakening of US dollar, subprime crisis may trigger economic slowdown. This may create a pessimistic demand drastically by bringing down the estimate of cash flows. Factors that affect the forecast of investment, cost, and revenue. The first factor is the business is affected by the changes in political situation, monetary policy, taxation, interest rate, policies of central bank of the country on leading by banks, etc. Second, industry specific factors influence the demand for the products of the industry to which the firm belongs. Third, company specific factors like change in management, wage negotiation with the workers, strikes or lockouts affect the company's cost and revenue position. Therefore, the risk analysis in capital budgeting is part and parcel of enterprise risk management. Types of risk. The risks in a project are many. It is possible to identify 3 separate and distinct types of risks in any project. The first one is the stand-alone risk, second is the portfolio risk, and third is the market or beta risk. What are the various sources of risk? The first is the project specific risk, second is the competitive or competition risk, third is the industry specific risk, fourth is the international risk, and fifth is the market risk. Some of the important methods that are used for taking investment decision under risk are as follows. The first is the sensitivity analysis, the second is the scenario analysis, the third is the decision tree analysis, fourth is the break-even analysis, fifth is the risk adjusted discount rate method, and the last one is the certainty equivalent analysis. Now we will discuss these kind of analysis individually. So what is sensitivity analysis? In sensitivity analysis, we analyze the degree of responsiveness of dependent variable, for example, cash flow, for a given change in any one of the dependent variables, for example, sales and market share. In other words, sensitivity analysis is a method in which the results of a decision are forecasted if actual performance deviates from the expected or assumed performance. Sensitivity analysis basically consists of 3 steps, which are as follows. First, identifying all the variables that affect the NPV or IRR of the project. Second, establishing a mathematical relationship between the independent and dependent variables. And third, studying and analyzing the impact of the change in the variables. Sensitivity analysis helps in providing different cash flow estimation in 3 circumstances, which are as follows. The first one is the worst or pessimistic condition. It refers to the most unfavorable economic situation for the project. The second is the normal condition. It refers to the most probable economic environment of the project. And the last one is the optimistic condition. It indicates the most favorable economic environment for the project. Now the second is the scenario analysis. The scenario analysis is another important method of estimating risk involved in a project. It involves assessing future uncertainties associated with the project and their outcomes. In this method, different probable scenarios are analyzed and the associated outcomes are also determined. For example, you are going to undertake an important project and have forecasted your cash flows accordingly. If your forecast goes wrong substantially, the future of the whole project can be jeopardized. As discussed earlier, in sensitivity analysis, different factors of a project are interdependent. Therefore, if any one of the factors are disrupted, the whole forecast can be wrong. Scenario analysis helps a project manager in preparing a framework where he or she can explore different kinds of risks associated with a project. It is more complex as compared to the sensitivity analysis. The scenario analysis needs sophisticated computer techniques to effectively calculate the large amount of probable scenarios and their respective outcomes. Scenario analysis is more useful to a project manager than the sensitivity analysis, as the former is more comprehensive and gives more insight about the project. However, there are few disadvantages of sensitivity analysis, which are as follows. First, it is a complex process. It involves difficult calculation, as calculating the NPV of a project is not easy by following this method. The complexity of the method makes it both costly and time consuming. Second disadvantage is difficulty in assessing the probability. It implies that it is very difficult to estimate the possibility of different outcomes. Sometimes in practical life, assessing future uncertainties is not accurate. The next analysis is decision tree analysis. Decision tree analysis is one of the most effective methods of assessing risk associated in a project. In this method, a decision tree is drawn for analyzing the risk associated in a project. A decision tree is a representation of different probable decisions and their probable outcomes in a tree-like diagram. This method takes into account all the probable outcomes and makes the decision-making process easier. The advantage of decision tree analysis are as follows. First, detailed insight. It provides a detailed view of all the probable outcomes associated with the project. Second, objective in nature. It provides a clear evaluation of different alternative decisions. Also, there are disadvantages of decision tree analysis. The first one is difficulty in large number of decisions. It signifies that if the expected life of the project is long and the number of outcomes are large in number, it is quite difficult to draw a decision tree. Second, difficulty in interdependent decision. It indicates that the calculation becomes very time consuming and complicated in case the alternative decisions are interdependent. The next analysis is break-even analysis. The break-even analysis is a widely used technique in project management. Break-even is a no profit and no loss situation for a project. In break-even analysis, all the costs associated with a project are divided into two heads. The first is the fixed cost and second is the variable cost. The total fixed cost and the total variable cost are then compared with the total return or revenue of the project. In a break-even scenario, the total of all the fixed costs or variable cost in a project is equal to the total revenue or return from the project. Therefore, a project can be said to have reached its break-even when it does not have any profit or loss. The different costs used in break-even analysis are explained below. The first is the fixed cost. It refers to the cost incurred at the initial stage of the project and does not depend on the production level or operational level of the project. For example, cost of machinery and rent. Second is the variable cost. It refers to the cost that depend on the volume of production. Wages and raw materials are the example of variable cost. The third is the total cost. It refers to the sum total of fixed cost and the variable cost. Next is the risk-adjusted discount rate method. The risk-adjusted discount rate method refers to the adjustment of risk in the valuation model, that is NPV. The risk-adjusted discount rate can be expressed as follows. D is equal to 1 by 1 plus R plus mu, where R is the risk-free discount rate and mu is the risk probability. The preceding formula can be used for calculating the risk-adjusted present value. Changing discount. Following are the advantages of risk-adjusted discount rate. Changing discount rate by changing risk factor for different time periods and amount of risk. Second, adjust the high rate of future by increasing the time duration for risk-adjusted rate. For example, the risk-adjusted discount rate for 50th year is equal to. And third advantage is regarding as the easiest method for evaluating projects in this condition. However, the disadvantage of risk-adjusted discount rate method is that it fails to provide tool for measuring the risk factor. Therefore, it is required to be supplemented with a method to calculate the risk factor. And the last is the certainty equivalent analysis. Certainty equivalent analysis is also used for the adjustment of NPV, thus selecting or rejecting a project. It is similar to risk-adjusted discount rate analysis. However, there is one difference between them. In risk-adjusted discount rate analysis, the discount rate is adjusted, while in certainty equivalent analysis, expected return is adjusted. So certainty equivalent NPV can be calculated with the help of following formula, where NPV is equal to A Rn divided by 1 plus R to the power n minus initial investment, where A is the certainty equivalent coefficient. The value of A can be determined with the help of following formula, Rn divided by star Rn, where Rn is the expected certain return and RN star is the expected risky return. So with this, I'm going to end the lecture. Thank you.